For decades, public media has been a public-private partnership. A recent executive order from the White House represents a direct attempt to interfere with our work. Learn how you can help protect public media at boisestatepublicradio.org/funding.
From Boise State Public Radio, this is The Connector. It's Idaho's Daily News. Good morning. I'm George Prentice. We have so many stories for you today. The first group of Afrikaners granted refugee status here in the U.S. have arrived in America, and some of them are headed to Idaho. We've got that story for you. Last night, the Boise School Board of Trustees heard about a draft proposal that would put some pretty serious restrictions on the use of cell phones in Boise schoolrooms. We'll tell you about that, and again, it's a draft proposal. And we'll also preview an event scheduled for later today where Ada County officials are expected to cut the ceremonial ribbon on a new renewable gas treatment plant. It is Tuesday, the 13th of May, and here come today's stories. The first group of Afrikaners granted refugee status have arrived in the U.S. The white descendants of mostly Dutch colonizers of South Africa flew into Washington, D.C. yesterday on a chartered plane. Among them, 2 families headed to Idaho for resettlement. Julie Lucata has this update.
The local chapter of the U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants, based in Twin Falls, will help 9 refugees settle in Idaho. Their arrival was expedited after the Trump administration classified Afrikaners as refugees for the first time back in February. The president's executive order came a few weeks after he halted all other refugee admissions. Boise State University Global Studies professor Lisa Morato says the Afrikaners' fast-tracked arrival is unusual.
Chartering the airplane and making those travel plans happen so fast is really different than the typical process that we've seen.
Refugees usually have to flee their home and apply for refugee status from a different country, often waiting up to 8 years to be vetted. Morato says Trump's pause on admissions left 12,000 already approved refugees in limbo.
In some cases, we're getting ready to board a plane to come to the U.S. Many of these are family reunifications. So husbands, wives, sons, daughters, mothers, fathers.
USCRI welcomes new refugees when they first arrive, provides furnished housing and case management, while also helping them access social services and benefits as they settle. Julie Luqueta, Boise State Public Radio News.
In a statement, USCRI say they've been providing services for refugees for over 100 years and would continue regardless of the country of origin, adding they are hopeful the arrival of Afrikaners indicates the government's intention to restart the U.S. refugee program to include many more nations. The Boise School District is considering new restrictions on personal electronic devices in Boise schoolrooms. Last night, the Boise School Board of Trustees heard from District Deputy Director Nick Smith.
Studies do indicate that unrestricted PED use in schools can lead to increased distractions, reduced engagement, higher levels of anxiety, stress, and sleep deprivation, cyberbullying, inappropriate online behavior, and negative effects on social skills and in-person interactions.
The draft policy would have elementary students store their personal electronic devices either in a backpack or with a teacher, and junior high students would have to store their personal electronic devices in a locker. High school students would be allowed to use devices, but only in between periods or at lunch. Smith said the district surveyed nearly 3,000 parents, guardians, and staff about the issue.
One of the first questions we asked are, how supportive are you of the draft PED policy? As you can see, 85.9% of parents and 92.6% of staff were supportive of our draft policy.
Last night was only the first reading of the draft policy. It's expected to come back before the Boise School Board at their next meeting when they might vote on the changes. Ada County officials will cut the ceremonial ribbon today on a new renewable gas treatment plant at the Ada County landfill. As Troy Uppy reports, the facility is already active, sending at this point, a small amount of natural gas to local customers.
Texas-based Biogas is the company behind the project. We first reported on it in January. Now up and running, a company spokesman says the amount of natural gas being produced from landfill emissions will grow over the next several weeks. Ultimately, the county expects to bring in about $1 million a year in royalties that will help keep landfill fees low. But a group of local citizens continues to push for more detail on the risk of PFAS, forever chemicals, in the finished product. There are no federal regulations in this area, and research is still minimal, says Richard Llewellyn with the group Kaya, Citizens Allied for Integrity and Accountability.
What they described is that the granular activated carbon was, quote, very hot with PFAS. Now, that is typically seen as a final polishing stage. So whether or not it captures all of the PFAS, we just simply don't know.
Biogas says it uses the best-known practices to refine the landfill gas to pipeline quality and remove PFAS, but that established and reliable testing doesn't yet exist. The company expects eventually it will be able to capture and convert nearly all the methane released by the landfill into energy. Troy Oppie, Boise State Public Radio News.
Idaho's Fish and Game Commission has a special meeting scheduled for today. It concerns Chinook salmon. You'll remember that the marathon journey of salmon includes navigating the Bonneville Dam using so-called fish ladders, water-filled structures with steps that actually help the fish get up and sometimes over the dam. Then they continue through the Columbia River system and possibly to Redfish Lake. It turns out the counts have picked up considerably this season. Checking the latest statistics from just last week, we see that just over 80,000 adult Chinook salmon have been counted so far this year at the Bonneville Dam, and that does exceed expectations. So that has triggered today's meeting of the Fish and Game Commission, which will consider some changes to the spring Chinook salmon season. The meeting is taking place at Fish and Game headquarters in Boise later this morning. Jackson McFarland is over at the National Weather Service office in Boise. Good morning, Jackson.
Good morning, George. How are you doing?
I'm well. A lot of activity on the weather map. What can you tell us about the elements that will make up the forecast?
Well, we're still tracking a upper-level low-pressure system moving through the area. Today, pretty high chances for precipitation across the area. Should be more of a showery mode of precipitation with maybe some isolated thunderstorms here and there. Right now, it's looking like the thunderstorm activity is going to be confined to the mountains, so the Boise Mountains, the West Central Mountains, and the Owyhee Mountains are all some areas that we're looking at, but the entire area could see shower activity. It's been pretty windy these past few days, and some of these showers are going to put out erratic, what's called outflow gusts, just gusts around thunderstorms. Could be as high as 30 miles per hour out of those thunderstorms. But there are going to be just some general gusts in the Snake Plain and the classic locations, such as Mountain Home and the Magic Valley, gusts up to 25 to 35 miles per hour with those sustained gusts.
Okay, and as we move through the rest of the week, what does that look like?
Well, this low-pressure system is going to be exiting the area Tuesday evening and Wednesday morning, so south central Idaho could see some lingering showers, but we'll be going into a very brief drying and warming pattern for Thursday. Still be cloudy, but the winds should lighten up a little bit and chances of precipitation go way down, but only for a brief period of time. Friday, we've got another low starting to move into the area. Precipitation chances increasing again Friday, but especially when that low arrives on Saturday. Saturday, we've got precipitation chances of about 60 to 70% across the entire area, and it is spring, so those winds are going to come up as well.
My goodness, there's so much going on there. Thanks for unpacking all of it. He is Jackson McFarland over at the National Weather Service. Jackson, have a really good Tuesday.
You too, George. Bye-bye.
And that is today's episode of The Connector. I'm George Prentice. We'll see you back here on Wednesday. To stay in touch with the news between now and then, check out boisestatepublicradio.org, or better yet, download the free Boise State Public Radio app. And thanks for listening.